Gee, day mate, I reckon you have been sussing out whether going off grid actually saves a quid, or if it is just a bunch of YouTube fluff. So I will give you the drum on how much I saved in 1 year, going off grid with receipts and the whole shebang. Before I pulled the pin on the power company, I was forking out a fair bit every month for lecky water and bin day. The summer aircon and winter heater were smashing the bill, and all those little service fees were adding up like a sneaky surcharge at the servo. I chucked every bill and receipt into a shoebox for 12 months so I could see the real damage. Back on the grid, I was paying about $280 a month on average. The electricity was the big one at roughly $160. Water and sewer was another 60. Bin collection was 20. And then the council slugged me with a stormwater fee and a bunch of other charges that pushed it up another $40. All up, I was blowing $3,360 a year just to keep the lights on and the dunny flushing, and that is not even counting internet or gas. First thing I sorted was solar. I did not go full bogan with a massive system, because the battery price would have sent me broke. I just set up enough panels and batteries to run the fridge lights, laptop router, and a few tools I gave aircon and electric heating the flick, because heating with batteries is a mug's game. Did most of the install with my mate, who is a Sparky and only paid for the final inspection and sign off after the government rebate. The whole lot cost me $9,400. Yeah, it is a chunk, but stick with me. For water, I put in a couple of big rain tanks with a little pump and a filter for drinking water. Chucked in a greywater line to the veggie patch too, so nothing goes to waste. That setup cost $1,800, and I told the council to get stuffed on month 2. No more water bill except for a $40 water test I do once a year. Rubbish was a ripper win. I started composting scraps, giving leftovers to the chooks, and burning clean paper in the wood stove. Now, I only duck to the tip once every couple of months, and they charge $2 a bag. So my yearly bin cost went from $240 down to $12. Bloody oath. So here is the year 1 tally straight from my bank app and the shoebox of receipts. I paid zilch for electricity compared to $1,920 the year before. Water testing cost me $40 compared to $720 for town, water, and sewer. Tip runs were $12 instead of $240 for weekly pickup. I still use LPG for cooking and backup heating, and that was $360, which is about what I paid before I also chucked $200 a year into a kitty for maintenance and bits and bobs. All told, my off-grid utility spend for the year was $612 compared to $3,360 on grid. I saved $2,748. In year 1, I have the receipts scanned as PDFs too. So if some drongo reckons I am spinning yarns, I can prove it. Now, mate, here's the straight talk, because the savings number does not tell you the whole story. The first few months I was stressing every time a cloud hung around for days. I learned to do the washing when the sun was belting down and to run the pressure cooker at lunch instead of dinner. I had to tighten a loose wire and hose the dust off the panels after a big blow. Nothing that shows up on a receipt, but it costs time and a bit of headspace, and that $9,400 for solar is not paid off yet. If you take the system cost and divide it by the yearly savings, it will take me about 3.5 years to break. Even after that, it is mostly gravy, apart from new batteries down the track. If I stayed on the grid, I would have handed the power company another $11,000 over that same time. So the long game looks pretty sweet, but you need the cash up front, or you will be eating 2-minute noodles for a while. a few things made my savings bigger than most blokes get. I downsized before I cut the cord, so my power needs were pretty small. I use a wood heater in winter, and I just cop it sweet in summer with no air con, which not everyone can do. I get decent sun and rain where I am. So the gear works most of the year, and I did a heap of the labor myself, which saved thousands. If you have to pay tradies for the whole job, your payback time blows out. If you are keen to give it a crack, start by tracking your bills for a few months and write down every little fee, not just the big ones. Grab a cheap power meter and figure out what is actually chewing through the juice. You might find that cutting your usage in half while staying connected saves more dosh with less drama. I keep all my receipts in a folder and update a simple spreadsheet every month, because when you tell your mates you saved money, they always want to see the proof. The proof is in the $0 power bill and the $12 of tip fees instead of a monthly bin charge. So there you go, mate. I saved $2,748 in 1 year going off grid, and I have the receipts to back it up. It was not free, and it was not always easy, but for me it was worth the hassle. If you want to have a squiz at the spreadsheet or the photos of the receipts, just give me a yell.